Trent Dawson thought he ruled the school. Everyone knew his name. Everyone feared his laugh. But the day he decided to mess with the wrong girl, everything changed in a way no one saw coming. It started quietly, with a single look, the kind that stays on you a little too long, the kind that makes you feel like you do not belong even before a word is spoken. 16-year-old Jasmine Whitfield had been in Summit Ridge, Idaho for exactly 3 weeks, and she already knew she was different. She had learned long ago how fast people could decide who you were without knowing anything about you. Moving from town to town because of her father's job had taught her one hard truth: some places welcome you, others make sure you understand you are an outsider. Summit Ridge High School was the kind of place that decided quickly. The first time Jasmine walked through the front doors, her backpack hung over one shoulder, her head slightly down, her steps careful. The hallways were loud, filled with lockers slamming, laughter echoing, and eyes that looked a little too curious. She avoided the stairs her father had warned her about, the ones where kids like Trent Dawson liked to stand and watch. Her dad had told her about boys like him, boys who believed the school belonged to them. Boys who thought the town, the people, and the rules bent around their last name. Jasmine had hoped she would blend in. She had hoped she would be invisible. That hope lasted exactly 2 days. On the third day, Trent Dawson noticed her. At first it was small. Whispers followed her down the hallway. Laughter rose just enough for her to hear when she passed. His friends nudged each other, eyes flicking toward her hair, her clothes, the way she spoke when a teacher called on her. She ignored it. She always did. Ignoring things like that had kept her safe before, but Trent Dawson did not like being ignored. One afternoon in English class, Jasmine sat near the window, scribbling notes while Mr. Holloway talked endlessly about The Great Gatsby. The sound of his voice faded into the background as she focused on her notebook, trying to disappear into the page. Then a whisper cut through the room. "Hey, new girl." Jasmine did not look up. "I'm talking to you, Whitfield." She tightened her grip on her pen, eyes still locked on her notes, pretending the voice was not aimed at her. Trent leaned back in his chair, a slow smirk spreading across his face. "I just think it's funny, you know, how some people show up where they're not wanted." A few students snickered. Jasmine felt her chest tighten but forced herself to keep writing. "Maybe you're just lost," Trent continued, his voice thick with fake kindness. "I mean, a school like this with people like us must feel pretty different for you, huh?" Her pulse pounded in her ears. She stayed silent. Trent leaned forward. "Hey, Whitfield, you hear me, or is it hard to hear over all that nothing you've got going on?" That was when Mr. Holloway's voice snapped through the room. "Trent, do you have something you'd like to share with the class?" Trent leaned back, raising his hands in fake surrender. "No, sir, just welcoming the new student." Mr. Holloway gave him a sharp look, then turned back to the board. The moment his back was turned, Trent shot Jasmine one last grin, full of promise. She let out a slow breath. Maybe that would be it. Maybe he would move on. Then a folded piece of paper landed softly on her desk. Her fingers hovered for a moment before she opened it. "Go back to where you came from." Her stomach dropped. She folded the paper carefully and slipped it into her backpack. Her face stayed blank as the lesson continued, but something had shifted. This was not going to stop. Trent Dawson had no idea who her father was, and soon he was going to find out, but before that happened, things were about to get much worse. Jasmine had learned how to endure. She had lived in enough towns, walked enough hallways, and sat in enough classrooms to know people like Trent existed everywhere. But there was something else she had learned too. Bullies never stop when you stay quiet. They push harder. Friday came, and the cafeteria buzzed with noise. Trays clattered, voices overlapped. The smell of pizza and old fries hung heavy in the air. Jasmine sat alone at a corner table, earbuds in, pretending she could not hear the whispers drifting around her. Then she felt it, that presence. She looked up. Trent stood a few feet away, hands tucked into his Letterman jacket, his smile sharp and confident. Behind him were his friends, Liam, Kyle, and Chase, all watching closely, waiting. "You always eat alone," Trent said. Jasmine did not answer. You should really try making friends." He glanced at her untouched tray, then back at his friends. "Or maybe people just don't want to sit with you." Kyle laughed quietly. Liam leaned forward. "I think she likes being invisible." Trent took a step closer. "Or maybe she just doesn't belong here." Jasmine's fingers curled under the table. She stayed silent. Trent's smile faded slightly. In one fast motion, he grabbed her tray and flipped it. The crash echoed through the cafeteria. Plastic hit tile. Food splattered everywhere. Mashed potatoes smeared across her shoes. Milk spread across the floor. The room fell into stunned silence, followed by gasps and laughter. "Oops," Trent said. Jasmine stared at the mess. Heat rushed to her face. Every eye in the room was on her, waiting to see what she would do. She pushed her chair back slowly, calmly. She wiped her hands with a napkin and stood. She was not going to give him what he wanted. As she turned to leave, Trent stepped in front of her. "Hey, where are you going?" "We're just getting started." "Move," Jasmine said quietly. The room seemed to stop breathing. "What was that?" Trent asked, amused. "I said move." His friends laughed. Trent stepped closer, or what? Her heart raced, but she did not look away. Then a sharp voice cut through the noise. "What is going on here?" Miss Reese, the assistant principal, marched toward them, heels clicking. Her eyes moved from Jasmine to Trent, then to the food on the floor. Trent stepped back instantly, his face innocent. "Nothing, Miss Reese, just an accident." Miss Reese looked at Jasmine. "Is that true?" Jasmine hesitated. She looked around. No one spoke. No one helped her. "Yes," she said softly. "It was an accident." Miss Reese sighed. "Clean this up and let's move on." Trent and his friends walked away, laughing quietly. "See you Monday, Whitfield." Jasmine stared at the mess, then grabbed her bag and left the cafeteria. This time she was not just letting it go. The house felt too quiet when Jasmine stepped inside that afternoon, the kind of quiet that made everything feel heavier. She dropped her backpack near the door and kicked off her shoes, staring at the dried streaks of mashed potatoes still clinging to them. She did not feel angry anymore. She just felt tired. "Jasmine, that you?" Her father's voice came from the kitchen. "Yeah, it's me," she answered. Elliot Whitfield stood near the counter, still in his police uniform, a mug of coffee in his hand. As the newly appointed police chief of Summit Ridge, he had spent his life learning how to read people. The moment he looked at Jasmine, he knew something was wrong. "You okay?" he asked. She shrugged. "Yeah." He did not look convinced. "How was school?" She slid into a chair, tracing a scratch in the wooden table with her finger. "Fine." He set his coffee down. "Try again." She sighed. "Some kid dumped my lunch on me today." The words hung between them. Elliot did not raise his voice. He did not shout. But something changed in his eyes. "Who?" She hesitated. "It doesn't matter." His voice was calm but firm. "It does." She rubbed her hands together. "Trent Dawson." Recognition crossed his face. "You know him?" she asked. "I know his family," Elliot said quietly. "Of course you do," she muttered. "What did the school do?" he asked. "Nothing, nothing." Miss Reese showed up, asked if it was an accident. I said yes. Why? Because nothing would have changed. People like Trent never get punished. Elliot leaned forward. "And what does that teach him? What does it teach you?" She had no answer. "You don't have to fight this alone," he said gently. She wanted to believe him. She really did. Monday morning felt different. The moment Jasmine stepped onto campus, she felt it. Whispers followed her, but not the same way as before. People stared with curiosity instead of mockery. She saw why when she reached the office. Her father stood there in full uniform. The principal argued nervously. Trent's parents stood nearby, arms crossed, faces tight. "My daughter was humiliated in your cafeteria," Elliot said, "and your staff did nothing." Darren Dawson laughed it off. "Boys will be boys, that's the problem," Elliot replied. "That excuse." Trent stood silently, confused, stripped of his confidence. "Apologize," his mother snapped. Trent muttered sorry, louder, "I'm sorry." Jasmine felt something shift. This isn't over, Elliot told the principal. There will be accountability. By lunch, the whole school knew. Trent sat stiff in the cafeteria, anger written across his face. Guess Daddy had to save you, he muttered as Jasmine passed. She stopped. You're mad, she said calmly. He sneered. Shut up. She leaned closer. Everyone saw what happened. They don't respect you anymore. They pity you. For the first time, Trent backed down. By the end of the day, Jasmine felt it. Respect, quiet approval. That power Trent had relied on was gone. Trent Dawson did not say another word to Jasmine for the rest of the day. He kept his head down, shoulders tense, avoiding eye contact with anyone who looked his way. The boy who once walked the halls like he owned them now moved like someone trying not to be noticed. His friends stayed close but quieter than before, unsure of where they stood now that his power had cracked. Jasmine noticed everything. She noticed how lockers stopped slamming when she passed. She noticed how conversations lowered instead of turning into laughter. A few students even nodded at her, small gestures but meaningful ones. For the first time since she arrived in Summit Ridge, she did not feel invisible. She felt present. When the final bell rang, Jasmine walked out to the parking lot and climbed into her dad's car. The door shut with a solid click that felt final, like the closing of something old. How was school? Elliot asked as he pulled away from the curb. She hesitated, then smiled. Not bad. He glanced at her, a small smile tugging at his mouth. See, people like Trent only have power if you give it to them. She nodded, staring out the window as buildings passed by. I get that now. They drove in comfortable silence for a moment before Elliot spoke again. You know, I didn't step in because I thought you were weak. She frowned and looked at him. What? I stepped in because I knew you weren't, he said. I just needed you to see it too. Her throat tightened. For a long time, she had believed surviving meant shrinking, staying quiet, letting things pass. But today had shown her something different. Standing up for yourself was not about yelling or fighting. It was about knowing your worth, and once you knew that, no one could take it from you. How many times do people like Trent get away with things because no one speaks up, because everyone thinks it will not matter? Bullies depend on silence, they grow stronger in it, but the moment you refuse to be afraid, the moment you stop shrinking, their control disappears. Jasmine understood that now. She leaned back in her seat, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. Trent Dawson had believed he ruled the school. He had believed his name protected him. He had believed no one would ever challenge him. He was wrong, because the truth was simple. Power built on fear never lasts. And once it is exposed, it collapses faster than anyone expects. Jasmine Whitfield did not need revenge. She did not need apologies. She did not need Trent to admit he was wrong. The balance had already shifted. And this time, everyone saw it.